Hey guys, there's a small edit by OP at the end, timestamp in the comments. Enjoy. Am I the a-hole for praising my son differently than my daughter? I, 52 male, am the father of 3 kids, 15 female, 7 female, and 7 male. The last 2 are twins and are very close, having the tendency to copy each other. I love and adore them all equally. My son is not a very masculine kid, and is less interested in some of my hobbies because of this. He has always preferred whatever his mother and older sister did, like baking or dancing. I have no problem with this, I love him as he is, but to be honest, I'm slightly disappointed that we haven't had the kind of amazing father-son bonding that I got to have with my grandpa. My dad died when I was pretty young, when I was a kid. Since I'm at home almost all the time now, I've been seeing just how feminine his interests have gotten. Asking to help cook every meal, helping his older sister alter second-hand clothes, and playing pretend. He's even asked to have his sister paint his nails. I'm not upset or bothered by it, but it isn't typical for young boys. I've been working out at home instead of at the gym because of our current circumstances, and when my son came in while I was lifting weights in the family room, he showed an interest in it. He was excited about the idea of having big muscles, and tried out some of the 5 pounds once. Even though he mentioned being like Shira, from some new Netflix reboot, I think. It was still progress in my eyes and it seemed like he was showing interest in masculine hobbies. I praised him and did the whole "wow, you're so strong" thing and kid talk to encourage him. When his sisters walked in, the twin, 7 female, joined in. Like I said, they have the tendency to want to do what the other is doing, so she expected the same kind of "wow, so strong" stuff. When I wasn't as enthusiastic with her and focused on my son, my oldest got annoyed and asked why I was treating them differently. I explained to her that because he hadn't taken interest in these kinds of masculine hobbies before, I wanted to foster his own identity as a boy separate from his twin sister. She accused me of being misogynistic for this. She then said that I was the a-hole for making his sister feel weaker and implying that I didn't approve of his feminine interests. I don't think I'm the a-hole, because there's no reason for my daughter to be inclined towards this kind of thing, but my son should be developing a more masculine personality as he gets older. When she told my wife, 41 female, she also blew up at me, saying I was acting like a cartoon misogynist. Both of them are pissed. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole? Your daughter was right. This is very misogynistic. You've expressed outright disappointment that your son has predominantly feminine interests, which, like, do only girls cook? Do only girls have imaginations? There is absolutely nothing wrong with things being feminine, but those aren't even girly girl things. Also, why are you so against your daughter having masculine interests? Which, again, is illogical. Women also lift weights. You're the a-hole for more reasons than one. OP, hope you do some introspection. OPYTA. I am a woman who lifts weights. I'm pretty pissed off at OP. YTA. You sound like you were bothered by your son's hobbies. Let me introduce you to Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, Bob Fosse, a few very famous male dancers. Gordon Ramsay, Guy Fieri, David Chang, a few famous male chefs. You are being misogynistic and you have this view of how people should be based on their genders. It's 2020, for God's sake. Support your kids regardless. Also, playing pretend. That is such a normal and healthy thing to do as a child. You can pretend to be anything, it's not gendered in the least. YTA, op, not person I'm answering to. Really? Men play pretend and have imaginations? I was under the impression that Stan Lee created an entire comic universe without any imagination at all. Huh. YTA. You say it doesn't bother you, but then claim that you expect your son to develop more masculine interests when he's older. That doesn't fit. What if he gets older and all his interests remain exactly the same? And it kinda comes off bad when you frame it as negative that he's trying to be more like Shira. What's wrong with him having a female role model? And then call it progress when he shows interest in something you approve of. Also, you seem to have a strong interest in your son developing a unique identity. Do you foster this in each of your daughters as individuals as well, or do you not care because they're both female and you just throw them into the same category? The new Shira is incredibly buff and physically strong, by the way. At least he's watching shows where they have varied representation and good role models. Yeah, I've seen the new show and it's great. I think it's awesome when little boys have female as well as male role models that they like and look up to. I'm only 21, but I remember growing up that lots of times boys were made fun of for being into girl stuff. I know, right? I'm so happy there's so many kids shows recently with great equality and diversity in them. She-Ra, Steven Universe, The Dragon Prince. Kids deserve a chance to explore whoever they want to become, and I feel like less gendered media is going to really help the younger generation. Yes, YTA not for trying to help him develop interests as an individual separately from his sister, but for so clearly treating them differently on the basis of gender. You say his feminine interests don't bother you, but then you go on to say that you're glad he's developing interest in a more masculine activity. The way you're differentiating between genders, inclination towards certain activities, which is complete nonsense, and the fact that you seem more interested in bonding with your son than your daughters, is going to cause your daughter to resent you later on. Also, how on earth is doing basic household chores like helping out with dinner feminine? It's not 1950, boys should develop the same basic skills as girls, and that includes cooking and cleaning. Edit. Also, the idea of a masculine personality is just ridiculous. Personalities are just personalities, they're not attached to particular genders. I'm slightly disappointed that we haven't had the kind of amazing father-son bonding that I got to have with my grandpa. That's on you, Up. You meet your kids where they are. It's almost like your kids are each individual people with their own likes and dislikes. Wow, crazy. You build close relationships with love, compassion, and understanding. You are never going to get the closeness you want with your children until you accept and love them for who they are. If you keep wanting them to be different so that you can accept them, you will truly miss out. Your kids are amazing, unique, and beautiful human beings. Love them as they are. Stop with the expectations and give them unconditional love. This isn't about them. It's about you and your preconceived notions of who they should be. This will get you nowhere. YTA. My initial reaction was no, you just got excited you found a common interest with your son. But then you get to the last few lines of the post. Because there's no reason for my daughter to be inclined towards this kind of thing, but my son should be developing a more masculine personality as he gets older. The fact that she has no reason for an interest in lifting and that you think your son needs to have a more masculine identity is misogynistic and a little toxic. Plenty of professional chefs and designers are men. Your overall perception is the problem. Agreed. It's alright for him to be a little sad his son isn't interested in the same stuff as him. That's perfectly fine. The problem comes with how he is treating his other kids differently, and also his definition for what qualifies as feminine interests is whack. He should be happy his other kid has an interest in what he is doing regardless of gender. My dad only has a daughter, and I think I was treated pretty much the same as he would treat a boy. I went on fishing trips, shot guns, fed the farm animals, and everything else. When I took an interest in getting healthier and going to the gym, he was happy. He taught me how to use the machines and even got me a membership without any fuss, even though he's cheap. That's how dads should treat their children. Obviously don't force them into your interests, but don't assume they won't be interested because of their gender. And certainly don't discourage them like OP is doing. YTA. You sound like my dad. I no longer have a relationship with him. He also tried to foster what kind of people he children should be based off gender too. Of course he never saw himself as a sexist or misogynist, he just saw things the way they should be based off our genitals. Biology and society was once the excuse for why whites and black were separated. We have moved on from that now and realize how absolutely assholish it was. It's a shameful part of our history. Gender roles are no different. Get with the times and encourage your kids to find what makes them happy. You're right, society will criticize them and steal their happiness. Do you want to be part of that, or do you want to be a support and give them courage to be happy in spite of what the world thinks? You're very right. I owe my entire family 1,000 apologies. Thank you for your comment. I'll be editing my post in a bit because of new developments, but in short, I've apologized to my wife, brother, and daughters and will be apologizing to my son once he's awake tomorrow. You need more than a sorry. You need to work on yourself to shift your views from your misogyny and learn how to actually support your children. It will take more than an I'm sorry and excuses. Yeah, YTA for being a misogynist, and your daughter already spelled it out really well for you, but you're dismissing her. All your kids are interested in these activities, both the ones you deem feminine and masculine, for the same reasons. They can do them together with their siblings and parents. They want to lift weights because they want to do something with you. They don't see baking as feminine and weightlifting as masculine because they are not gendered activities. You're the one introducing these toxic concepts to your children, and applaud your daughter for calling you in your toxic bullshit. Go apologize to your kids and then do something fun with all of them without worrying about it being gender appropriate. YTA. Please stop calling particular activities feminine or masculine. Cooking is not feminine. Lifting weights is not exclusive to men. Fingernail polish is primarily used by women, but please believe me, plenty of men, ESP ages 25 and under, do use fingernail polish. You may not be a raging misogynist, but you are entrenched in misogynistic thoughts and mindset, and you need to really examine yourself before your kids grow up and realize what an asshole you are and end up despising you. Dude, how can you even ask this question? Your son being what you call feminine is beside the fucking point. Both your kids came in and took an interest in something you were doing, and you actively decided to offer one with more praise. Call it what you will, setting aside the fact that fostering your kids' behavior is manipulative and creepy, you chose to favor one of children based on their gender. If your twins were baking and each brought you a cake they made, would you actively decide to praise your daughter more so that she would recognize that feminine activity is something she should be doing? What you are doing is enforcing gender stereotypes your 7-year-olds will actively respond to. Your son may wish to become a baker. However much you state you don't care about his feminine traits, if the only praise he ever receives from you is when he lifts weights, then he will likely believe you disapprove of his passions. Your daughter may wish to become a mechanic. If the only praise she ever receives from you is when she cleans and cooks, then it is likely she will feel obligated to continue those activities. Forget being politically correct for a second. You are allowed to want to spend time doing things you enjoy with your son. You are entitled to your feelings. But don't forget your children have them too. You are the adult, and if your son want to bake and dance and play dress up, you fucking man up and do that shit too. You want a relationship with the boy? Put on a fuck apron and have one with him. YTA. Edit. Hey everyone. I was 100% the a-hole. I appreciate that some people tried to empathize and say not the a-hole or no a-holes here to be charitable, but I'm in the wrong here, and I knew it deep down while I was writing the post. Rereading it, I feel ridiculous for writing that all out. I want to say thank you, because these comments were the objective kick in the ass I really needed. I realize now that I was really out of line for saying that shit and making my daughters feel that way. I set up a stupid false dichotomy, and my daughter was very right. I was being a misogynist. No excuse for that. I apologized to both of them and my wife an hour after I posted. I also shared this post with my little brother, who, as I mentioned in a comment, was teased for being effeminate as a kid/teen, especially after he came out. I think some people took me mentioning that as blaming him, which wasn't my intention at all. None of my behavior is his or anybody else's fault. We talked for a while, and that, along with many of the comments you guys left, made me aware of how badly I'm treating my son. My grandpa, who raised my brother and I for most of our lives, was a manly guy who I've always idolized completely. Well, my brother made me aware that my grandpa in particular made him feel shitty about his femininity and his sexual orientation. He would regularly say degrading, terrible things. I was oblivious to just how much that hurt him, and it seems that I've picked up some of these same ideas. I've been such a dick for so long, and now that I realize how absurd some of the ideas I've held onto are, I know how much of a disservice I've done to my boy. I shouldn't try to make him change just to protect him from bullies. In this situation, I'm the bully as much as it hurts to think. I'm planning on talking with him about this issue and apologizing. If we can this week, I want to let him choose something that he likes that we can do together. I'm not going to make the same mistakes my grandpa did. At my brother's and some Redditors' suggestions, I'm considering trying out therapy or a support group. After a mistake, huge fuck up, like this, I think I ought to try to be the best dad and big brother I can be and work to stop thinking that way, especially when I've already done so much damage. I'm sorry about the extremely long edit, but thank you for your responses and helping me with this issue. I showed my wife some comments and she also thanks you all.